Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'll share my screen. Where is this? Um Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruhu wa nu'minu bihi wa natawakkalu ilayhi. Amma ba'd. Today's lecture will be our second last lecture, as I mentioned. Our focus will be today on Sufi Enneagram alone. As you see the outline, the way I have furnished it, we will be reviewing briefly what we discussed in our last session. And then we will go into Sufi Enneagram briefly, which we discussed, of course, have been discussing throughout the sessions. And then I will touch on actually real work, which how we apply Sufi Enneagram for moral healing. Yeah, according to of course, Dr. Lale Bakhtiar, who we are following, she is quoting, I don't know whether you know, you read it, Nasiruddin Tusi, who was the Iranian philosopher, to whom Hazrat Sadruddin Qunavi wrote quite a few letters. And this methodology is based on his prescription because he was a philosopher, he was a psychologist. The book he wrote is called Akhlaq Nasiri. That book was very famous. So anyway, so that is the methodology we will be discussing. So this methodology is based on Nasiruddin Tusi, Akhlaq Nasiri, and then the other awliya who gave this prescription is, his name is Abu Talib al-Bakki, Qut al-Qulub, that book. And also the prescription is based on al-Ghazali, Ihya Ulumuddin, and another Sufi, his name is Hussain Wais Kashifi Sabjawari, and his book is Royal Book of Spiritual Chivalry. So those three books basically is touched on in today's chapters we are studying. We will be discussing the chapter 6, which is basically focusing on moral healing, which says, how do you do the healing work using Wajhullah, through the sign of the presence of God. So our heart and the universe is the Wajhullah. And as you know, in our last session we covered the metaphysical term. We discussed how we can achieve this perfect man spiritual journey by following these steps, this understanding all these metaphysical terms and the pathway. So we'll be touching 4 stages of moral healing. One is Ghidhāঃ, diet of mechanism, a technique called diet technique, which focus on prevention and early correction. And then another one is the medication approach, which is Dawāṃ, Dawāṃ. The counterbalance the negative emotion with positive emotion. And then the poison approach. Sometimes, you know, in homeopathy and others, they put poison as an antidote. So sometimes you put vaccine, the same disease in a low dose in you, so that you reverse it and your body develop your antibody. Same way in this, we use a technique called poisoning technique, controlled inversion therapy. The other one is the surgery, the jiraha. So the radical spiritual intervention. So those are the 4 stages is our focus today. So in our review, we're just talking about in our last session, this keywords, Aniyya, separation, because we all feel separation because our I is strong in us. I means our ego self, nafsul ammara, which pull us towards the world, and we don't see God, we see only us because we are busy with Aniyya, Ana. My, I am better than you. I have children, I have car, I have this, all these things. I drive Mercedes or I drive BMW, those sort of things. So that Aniyya, I-ness, separates us because we do not see that we are not us. We are just his uh, countenance. He created this whole universe, including me, to manifest his glory. So my ruh belong to him. My eye belong to him. My ear belong to him. My body belong to him. I can't even breathe. This breath is given to me by blowing into Adam, and I inherited from Adam this breathing. This body I inherited from, of course, Rasul, this body from Adam alayhi salam, this ruh from Rasul Pak sallallahu alayhi salam. Ruh, Hazrat Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi salam is the father, spiritual father, because he is the Ab Ruhani, and then Ab Jismani, the father of our body, is the Adam. So we needed to understand to Aninga so that we can forget it. That's why you have to start mujahada. That's when transformation will happen. And then we know whatness, Mahiyya, tafakkur is, we discussed actually in our last session, and I hope people started practicing those prescription I given, those verses that wafi anfusikum afala tubsiru, to look into inside, and then to do this dua, which is the Prophet ﷺ used to do. Allahumma arini nafsi kama hiya. He actually said different way. Allahumma arini ashya kama hiya. Show me the things as they are. Waj'alni min alladhina yarawnaka fi kulli shay'in. That is the prayer to see beyond you. I is not I, but it is he. And then, of course, Mahiyya, whatness, who am I? Why I am created? وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ اللهم عرفني بما خلقت له واجعلني وافيا بعهدك. Oh Allah, enable me to recognize what I was created for and make me faithful to your covenant. So in that way, we will be able to understand our purpose, why I am created for, reflect divine purpose behind my creation. And then tashakhus, which is the personification, specific form. So my name is a unique, my attribute is unique. I will never come again, and this Nurul Alam will never be born. I am born only once. So that tashakhus, that's individuation, that distinctiveness, uniqueness, that is my quality, whatever I have been given or endowed with, or whatever I have able to manifest through me. I allowed God to manifest through me. So as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Kullu ya'malu ala shakilati. Each acts according to their own disposition. So if I am created to give this lecture, or if I am created to learn and disseminate, and if I am created to become engineer and give an engineering service to community, those sort of things is what I have been created for. Because to live, I need to have a profession, and Whatever I excel, that's what I've chosen to do, and that's what other people need it, so I am able to sell it and they are able to give me money so that I can sustain my body. But to sustain my ruh, I need knowledge. I need to read Quran. I need to read all these books and then to share it with others. That's why my spiritual food is this lecture, this knowledge, this book, this mujahada. That's why this prayer, Allahumma jal khususiyati sababan liqurbeka. So I reach to my Allah through my khususiyat, to my uniqueness, to with whatever individuality I have been given. I want to find my Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through that khususiyat. وَلَا تَجْعَلْهَا hijaban baini wa bainak. This is a personal appeal to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so that I do not see my eye. I can dissolve my eye, and so that He comes to be visible to me. Because at the moment, my eye-ness is blocking me. So, and then of course, once that block is gone, tajalli will come. That is the tajalli, divine disclosure. That is the shuhud. I will be able to do wahadatu shuhud. I will be able to see him. And of course, at the moment, started seeing, as you know, when you are practicing in this path, it's called baraka, bawarik, the divine flashes. Time to time, suddenly you'll feel something, some knowledge, some when you're looking at flower, meditating on it, when you are in front of the ocean and then meditating on the vastness of the ocean, suddenly a thought come like a divine flash and give you joy from that kind of knowledge. So that is the tajalli, which comes to you in various forms, mostly in terms of knowledge. So knowledge is light. So Allahu nuru samawati wal ard. Allahumma ja'alni bi asma'ika wa sifatika wa ja'alni miratan linurika. Oh Allah, make my heart a mirror for your light. So that is the prayer. So we need to practice it every week, so that our heart get ready. Allahumma, you know the way Ibn Arabi taught us. Um, Allahumma istidadan kamilan likabuli faidikal agdas. Oh Allah, make my heart ready so that it can receive, it can be ready to Kabul, to accept the Faidikal Agdas, your holy effusion, لِأَخْلَافِكَ فِي بِلَادِكَ, so that I can be a vicegerent in my Belad. Belad means my country, my mamlukat. My body is my mamlukat, because my eye, my hand, my everything I have been blessed to it is my mamlukat, my kingdom. And that kingdom is through which his Allah's barakah is flow through. So that is why that tajalli will be visible. And then of course I understand the absolute essence of Allah. I'll be able to dissolve in the ocean of his cosmos. And then of course then I will be able to say that it is he. It's not Nurul Alam, it is he. He is manifesting through me. So it's not me, it's he. So the he, who is he? Huwa. Allahu alladhi huwa al-awwalu wal-akhiru wal-zahiru wal-batinu. So there is nothing exists. He is the first, he is the last, he is the manifest, he is the unmanifest. So where am I? Is there anywhere I am mentioned there? No. He is Huwa. So that's what we need to digest it, and that's the path which will be unfold to us through this exercise. And Yeah, this table, I kept it here, which I shared last time. So I'm not going to it today anyway. So I did explain all those words. So now our focus is Enneagram today. So I will be revisiting this. Justice is what our target, to bring justice to our soul so that Rabbana Zulumna Anfusana. Oh Allah, I did zulum, I did oppression to my soul. Yeah. Rabbana Zulumna Anfusana wa illam taghfir lana. If you don't forgive us, of course we will be khasirin, we'll be losers. So we will need to bring justice there, because at the moment, as I said, I'm still blaming that it's me. So that's why Allah is saying, Inna Allah ya'muru bil adli wal ihsan. God commands justice and excellence. So that's justice and excellence is what we are seeking. And of course, we have been given tools like wisdom, which is our intellect, akal. And then we have been given courage, which is our himma, which is our, of course, willpower. So those are the tools we have been given. And then self-esteem, temperament. So these two part, there is a three part. This is the spiritual line, this three line, this 120-degree, each one. So that is the C, which is the wisdom, cognition, C. And then this two is the, this one is called effect, which is the attraction to pleasure. And this is the B, which is the avoidance of harm and pain, behavior. So this two is the area of patience. And this is the one which is the area of reason, intellect. So our job is to use the intellect, to use our common sense, to use our knowledge, wisdom, to understand this excessiveness of our, um, yeah, excessiveness of our attraction to pleasure. If we are too much drawn to pleasure, then gluttonous will become, will be greedy, those sort of things. So that's why we need to use, Allah is saying that yutil hikmah man yasha. Allah give wisdom to whom he wills. Whoever he wills, he gives wisdom. So that wisdom is given us. We have built-in wisdom, but of course, the more wisdom we have, the more we know Allah. Allah is saying that in Allah akramakum and Allah atkakum. So Allah, if you have more taqwa, more knowledge of Allah, more consciousness of Allah, you have a higher karam, higher daraja, higher status to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So our objective, you know, forbearance, temperance, is this verse. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, wal kazimin al gaiza wal afina anin nas wallahu yuhibbul muhsinin. Those who restrain their anger and pardon people, God loves the doers of good. So if we do those things, then we become muhsinin. And if we become muhsinin, Allah said, I love them. So that's what we are seeking, divine love. To get the divine love, we need to do this kind of things. So this anger, if it comes, we needed to restrain it. And if someone do harm to us, we have to try our best to see whether we can pardon it. So that's what it is. Now I'll share the other diagram in the book, which we are studying. So macroscopic folding. This is this circle we saw in the that Enneagram. As you see, three parts self. First part is immortal, which is our, you know, Nafsul Mutmainna, where Ruh is. The Ruh is immortal. And then Center is the fitratullah, where the, of course, we are trying to go, and that is our qalb, that is the center. Spiritual heart is there at the center, and then these two part is the mortal part, as I mentioned, two part of our nafs, which is called Quwwatul Shahwaniyya and Quwwatul Ghadabiyya, Quwwatul Shahwaniyya, which gives us power, courage, himma, will, and then this part, it gives us temperament, it gives us, of course, energy. So but this two part is mortal. And then this part is the divine spirit, which I showed you that diagram. And then this two part is our animal self. And then if you look at this part is the reason, and this part is the nafsul lawwama, our conscient, blaming self, our discernment power. And then this part is the spiritual heart, and this two part is the passions. Passions come from these two part. And these two part is nafsul ammara, center is nafsul mutmainna, and then this part is our conscient, blaming self, nafsul lawwama. And then believe in God, of course, come from our wisdom here. And then strive in God's way with wealth. That's what we take this striving, mujahada, is because of this kuwa we have. And then strive in God's way with life is this part, which give us this that kind of courage, bravery. I mentioned about that quotation. You need to be brave even to kill your snake. And this is the other diagram, which is moral reasonableness. This Helim, that's what will when we are able to reach that is through the capability of our this self, higher self. And these two part will of course push us towards ignorance. If we have less of wisdom, that's where we will be pushing us to. So perfection of each part provided by nature, and then wisdom, justice, temperance, courage, which we discussed before, and balanced, centered, just. If you have all this, spiritual heart unveiled, self at peace, and of course all these other lines is how we'll be using it. This one, and then of course 2 minus, and then 4 plus, and then the 5, and then of course 7, and then this 8 minus. So when you have, we'll say we have to go from 1 to 4, and then to 2, and then to 8. So when we will be using those numbers, that movement of change line, spirit moves in ascending, descending, and horizontal motions. So yeah, those activity will start when we'll apply this line. Those movement of change will happen, and then when all this improvement will start. So, and then here she explaining, if kufri affects us, 9-0, which is a disbelief in Allah, that's when we have to move from that quadrant or that part to this two part. So if C is affected, you need to move to A and B. And then same when you have a shirk, that's when this 8, number 8, which is the jahiliyyah, as you know, ignorance, 8 minus. That's also you needed to move towards this two part, this which is white. And then if you have 1, that is also hypocrisy. If you have too much of a wisdom, you become hypocrite. So you think you know more. As a result, you will disobey Allah. So you will be hypocrite. You will show something that you are good, but actually underneath you are bad. Nifaq, hypocrite. And then is this one, when you have, of course, balance, wisdom, temperance, and courage, then you have a cognitive balance, reasonableness of religiously cultured monotheist. You'll be able to achieve that hilm, the muruwa, and then the piety. Also, the God consciousness will be established, and then you will be able to achieve the justice. So that's what we will focus on, and then I'll move back to my slide. So now we are going to go into this attaining moral balance through Enneagram. Here, Ibn Arabi and here at Lale Bukhtiyar is saying healing work, change must be needed. Why? Because weed will grow in the garden no matter whatever you do, unless constant garden care is taken, or if you can constantly cleaning and helping and checking. Otherwise, weed will grow it. That's how the nature is. Same way in our heart, false self with negative traits will cloud the mirror of our heart unless healing works are conducted. So we have to do constant mujahada, constant watching, constant self-reflection, constant, murakaba, mushahada, muhasaba. All those things we have to do. And if we keep doing it, then we will know which negative trait is dominant is in us, and we do not let it to get root into our heart. So, and Ghazali in his book is saying that three methods the awakened one can pursue. First method, ask a truthful friend who is a pious and who has insight to point out one's negative traits. Such a friend is hard to find, he say, because most people prefer not to point out the negative traits of a friend because that leaves them open for the awareness of their own negative traits. So some people don't want to help because of their own reason. So if you don't find, then second, if not, if one not have an honest friend, ask one's enemy who will readily state one's negative traits. Sometimes, yeah, that helpful because enemy want to point out to you that what your negative traits are. And then third, mix with people who are not afraid to ascribe to themselves the negative traits they see in other person. Al-Ghazali says that whether a person perceives any negative in another, he should suspect its presence in himself to greater or lesser degree and begin to reflect on himself. So that's one way self-reflection. If you say that, oh, this person has this shortcomings, you, because you are able to see it, because you have them. That's what one way to do self-reflection. That's another method he's saying. But of course, we are here in this group. That's one of the reason I am seeking companions, because that's what one of the suggestion from Ibn Arabi is, that if you can't find a sheikh who is open to you, just find some friends who will help you. So that's why I am trying to build up Ashabu Safa. Now, 4 techniques. The one I was discussing, we said the nafs suffers 3 sets of moral imbalances, which cause perplexity and ignorance, plus other vices like anger, cowardice, fear of other than God, sadness, envy, lust, sloth, all these things. So, yeah, 3 sets of moral imbalance. So the systems of the self are confined to 3 areas: the cognitive system, attraction to pleasure, avoidance of harm. Those are the three systems I mentioned. Since again the imbalances of each occur in two kinds. The imbalance in these three part can happen in two part. One is through an imbalance in the quality on a quantity, too much, too less, or through an imbalance in quality, which is undeveloped, undeveloped, undeveloped. You know, in that diagram I showed you, this undeveloped is disbelief, the 9-0, you know, 990 or 9 degree, and then 3 degree undeveloped fear of other than God, and 6 degree is the undeveloped, which is envy. So if you have an undeveloped self-esteem, undeveloped temperament, you will develop envy, jealousy, and then if you have too much courage or undeveloped courage, then you have a fear other than God. So, and since moreover, quantity represents either a departure from equilibrium in the direction of overdevelopment or departure from equilibrium in the direction of underdevelopment. Therefore, the imbalance of each system may be of three sorts in conformity with overdevelopment, underdevelopment, or undevelopment. These are the classes of simple moral imbalances occurring in the systems of the self. So, and he's saying that these imbalances, there are some which are called fatal. So, and most of the chronic imbalances have their origins therein. This cover such cases as overconsciousness of self leading to perplexity and ignorance. So your overconsciousness of self leading to perplexity and ignorance in theoretical intellect, while in the case of the other systems, such things are involved as anger, cowardice. So those three-part system, so fear other than God, those sort of things. And then 4 stages. First treatment is diet. Second treatment is medication. Third is poison. And fourth is surgery. The first stage of treatment to be used if the imbalance is a relatively early stage of development, which is called diet. A general description of this stage of restoration to moral balance, beginning with consciousness and awareness. Consciousness and awareness of the human imperfection is given by Tusi. So this idea is taken from Tusi's book, and Tusi is Nasiruddin Tusi, the one I mentioned. His book is called Akhlaq al-Nasiri, translated by G. Wickens. If you find it, I haven't checked for it, but yeah, that book is read by thoroughly by Lale Bukhtar, and she quoted it. So Tusi suggested one should first clearly recognize the harm of the negative trait one seeks to change. So negative trait, you needed to recognize it in you, gain cognitive consciousness of it. There should be no doubt about it in order to have necessary motivation to affect change. Say if you see anger manifesting most of the time in you, you need to work on anger management. So how do you do it? That is what Tusi is suggesting, to be aware. So awareness and consciousness. One should become aware through the imagery of the harmful effects the negative trait has on the self, whether in one's faith or in one's worldly affairs, in dealings, in dealings with people. Then at the next stage, one should shun the learned negative trait by the use of willpower. So just like the prophetic advice, if you get angry when you are standing, sit down. If you get angry when you are sitting, lie down. Or the other advice given by Abu Bakr or Ali maybe said that you bite your tongue when you get angry. So those sort of approach, so this approach is called diet approach. Diet means, why it is a diet approach? Because to keep you healthy, you eat good food, avoid bad food. So whatever is bad for your heart, avoid them. Whatever is good for you, do it, bring into your life. So that is the diet approach. Diet means eating good food, avoiding bad food. So, but it's a metaphorical treatment plan, which basically self-organizing, self-consciousness, self-awareness. So if you can manage yourself, self-management, for to do self-management, you need to have self-awareness. In that way, you can do self-organize. And you can, I mentioned this particular EQ terminologies, which is basically, I said the six feeling. Watch yourself. You are in a happy mood, excited mode, tender mode. These three, which is a good emotion. And then if you have always you are having sad or angry or scared, those three negative emotions manifesting through you, depending on which part you are doing, that's how you can develop your emotional intelligence, self-awareness. So it's called Sha-Shet. As Sha means sad, angry, and the other Sha is scared. And then ET is this excited, tender, happy. Those three. So those three is the good emotion. If you are happy and if you are feeling tender, loving, that's very good. But if you're feeling scared, if you're feeling panic, if you are furious all the time, and if you are depressed all the time, sad, heartbroken, then of course you need to work on and those sort of things. So basically, diet option treatment plan is basically yeah, avoiding replace good trait and negative trait with the positive trait. Second one is medication. When you find that you can't replace your anger, it is more deep rooted than being aware, and you are aware, but still you when it comes, it overtake you and you start breaking things, and or you are punching somebody as soon as you got angry, so you lose control. So that's when you needed this medication. The second stage in medical practice is the use of medication, an equivalent method of employed traditional psychotherapy in dealing with the unconsciously learned negative traits of the preconscious, unconscious self. Tusi explains, if, however, by this sort of imbalance, i.e. diet, the imbalance is not balanced, one must proceed to consciously chide and revile, to humiliate and reproach the self of the act in question. So you have to humiliate yourself. So reproach the self, either in thought or by word or by deed. So he's saying that you needed to rebuke yourself, go in front of the mirror and say that how dare you did this. Question yourself. So in thought, in by word, and by doing even deed, just hold your ear and then do up and down. That this is the punishment I give you to you because you did this. If this does not produce the desired result of the negative trait changing to centering and use of the positive trait, and one's purpose is to adjust one's either the two functions, behavioral, anger toward to ward off pain and survive, or effective emotive, the last to preserve the human species, then one must effect this change by the use of other function, or whenever one is dominate, the other is dominated. Moreover, just as the natural created purpose of the effective emotive function is to preserve alive the individual, and the species. So the purpose of the behavioral function is to defeat and the onslaught of attraction to pleasure. So if you can't stop eating chocolate all the time, and which is not good for you, some too much of it, then of course he's saying that take some action, because to keep your body, you need some bit of chocolate because that needs the sugar. Your body needs the sugar. But if you are taking too much sugar, then you'll develop insulin and all those other disadvantages. And same way, if you love to enjoy family, you love to enjoy, the pleasure, sex. But if it is too much and if you're addicted to it, that's when it become a problem. So, and that's what he's saying. You need to take action to neutralize and compensate your too much attraction to the pleasure. Cognitive function has scope for distinction. This category of restoration to balance is analogous to the analogous to the that part. I can't read it. Mm. Anyway, so that is the second stage, which is the medication. So medication means counter, that neutralization. So, and then this one is the poison treatment. When the third category or stage of restoration to moral balance, that of poison, is used medically to affect change when the negative habit is firmly entrenched and deep rooted in the self. If your nerves has a particular habit deep rooted, then you need poisonous attempt, poisonous approach, poisonous technique. If again the imbalance is not eliminated by this method, i.e. medication, the neutralization technique, in order to crush it, you must seek help from entrenched negative trait by consciously developing the opposite negative trait. However, one must always closely observe the condition of the self and notice any adjustment made in the condition. That is to say, when the deeply entrenched negative trait begins to decline in terms of intensity or approaches the mean, which is the place of the positive trait, the moral seeker must abandon the course on which he has embarked in order not to incline from equilibrium to the other end of the continuum and thereby fall into another imbalance. This category of restoration to moral balance corresponds to the poisonous remedy to which the medical physician does not put his hand unless he is compelled the disorder, so that no no where is this? Moral balance corresponds to the poisonous remedy to which the medical physician does not put his hand unless he is compelled to do so, and when he does, he recognizes the obligation to careful observation and monitoring the disorder, so that there be no declination of the disorder towards its opposite. I'll give example for it. So how you apply this poison approach. If you have too much courage, sometimes you needed to act like a coward. So, but if you act too much of it, then your courage will disappear. Then you will be another melody will build in you. That's what it's suggesting. So you need to do poisonous technique under supervision. That's what he's suggesting. As for him who fears to stand in the presence of his Lord and keeps the self from passion, then surely paradise, that is his abode. Of course, that is the reward. That is the prophetic hadith, to command resisting the passions. Yeah. So Allah is saying, of course, if you have a reward if you can control your passion, And then, of course, you have a reward. The teaching of the divine law, this prophetic law, the divine law also enjoined the removal of negative traits from the self by good acts of the body. So you can do sometime, um, yeah, just make your body to do lot of salat, or make your body, yeah, to do fasting. So this constitute the source of specific form of opposition found in the ethics of Ghazali, that is the removal of negative trait by removing its causes, and removal of causing the causes by means of their opposites. Just like, you know, there is a saying that, um, pull the thorn. You know, if you got a thorn in your feet, um, then you need another thorn or needle to push out the thorn out. So, so that's why if you have a poison already, negative traits, you need another negative traits to treat your, um, habit. So there is a Abu Talib Makki. He suggested this. He's saying that know that the negative traits of the self are their imbalances, and moral healing of the self is through a remedy. For every moral imbalances of the self, there is a remedy commensurate with the smallness or greatness of the imbalance. Apply then a remedy for the imbalance whenever it attacks. So, and then the last one is the surgery. The fourth stage of restoration to moral balance is known as cauterization or surgery. And just as this is the last stage of treatment of medical diseases, so too with mortal imbalance. So if you have a moral imbalance, then you may have to do surgery, which is of course cut off. So how do you cut off? Yeah, there is a procedure he's showing here. If this type of restoration to moral balance, i.e. poison, 2 proves insufficient, the constantly returning to the repetition of the same deep-rooted negative trait. If your nerves is constantly returning to the repetition of the same bad habit, then it must be um, consciously chastised and deadened. Yeah, you need to deaden. So you need to kill it. Take a particular part of your flesh where that disease is. Difficult and arduous task must be imposed. As you see, this is the one. Difficult and arduous task must be imposed upon it to affect the change. Furthermore, one should set about making vows and covenants that are difficult to implement after becoming aware of the negative effects upon the self. This category of restoration to moral balance is like the cutting off of the limbs in medicine or cauterization of the extremities. The final remedy is surgery. So the following imbalances are described as imbalances in quantity, producing an over or underdevelopment of positive disposition, or imbalance in quality, which produces an undevelopment of a positive disposition. So if you have an undevelopment issue, just like um, disbelief, which is undeveloped wisdom, or envy, which is an undeveloped self-esteem, or the fear of other than God, then also sometime you have to apply um, one of this approach, poison or surgery. Because when you have those two, when undeveloped, diet option is not available, or medication option is not available. So here is the summary. Diet option you apply when mild imbalance, and just a preventative. Practice gratitude, show presence, and then avoid gossip. Remember God, do zikr. The Rumi wisdom is be like a tree and let the dead leaves drop. So just wisdom is there. Follow that. That's when this is a small negative trait. Say, for example, time management. You always waste your time, so you can start doing some mild diet approach. And then medication approach is when you have a moderate imbalance. So what is the checklist? Counteracted anger with forgiveness. Faced cowardice with a small courage. And replaced greed with charity. So if you have a greed towards money, just give away some money. Transformed envy with gratitude. Instead of jealousy, money envy, because your neighbor has more money than you. So you just say what you have, that you never, yeah, be blessed. So you are blessed with so many things. Maybe he's not blessed. So in that way, you will be able to convert envy to gratitude and then replace envy. So Ghazali is saying, break the back of greed with contentment. If you are a content with whatever you have, then your greed will be broken. Poison approach, deep-rooted vice, hard to shift. What do you have to do? Name entrenched vice. First, what is that vice that which you need, which is deep-rooted? Is it anger or it is lust? Or it is you can't get rid of your alcohol, or you can't get rid of gambling. So those sort of things, you just name it. Practice controlled opposite, even uncomfortable. Keep supervision and accountability. Die before you die. That is the approach. Destructive vice dominates life. So if it is dominating, then you have to surgery. You need a surgery. Tried prior stages, vice harming self and others, ready for radical change under guidance. The perfect human is the mirror of God's name. So you need to do fasting. You needed to do basically, um, yeah, quite a few options. There are certain divine names you have to do zikir with, wajifa. We'll discuss it. So one of these, say for example, diet, Ghidhāঃ approach, um, practice positive traits to maintain moral health, and yeah, this ayat I have mentioned, and you have to do sometime al-Shakur, as-Sabur, and then um, if you have greed, envy, laziness, this kind of, then you have to diet practices generosity, contentment, diligence, and of course, you can learn this wisdom. Be like the sun, give warmth without asking. And the envious is tormented by the blessings of others. Why do you stay in prison when the door is so wide open? So this medication, Dawāṃ, is counterbalance the negative emotion with positive emotion. So use opposing emotional functions to neutralize the entrenched traits. So yeah. So basically, or you can do this wazifa al-Hakim and then al-Afu, this two wazifa. And last, if you have um, you are too much lust, you have lust for money, lust for sex, or lust for whatever, and then or anger, pain awareness, and then technique is reflect on consequences of indulgence. If you don't take action, what will happen? You will be, of course, penniless. You will be, yeah, the lust blinds the heart. And if you start getting pain, of course, then you will be awakened. Cowardice, courage. Controlled exposure to fear. Don't run from the knife. It's here to cut away your false self. So that is the wisdom you seek from there. So you have a pride, you do have to do humility, service to others. And then the servant is closest when he forgets himself. And then the poison, control inversion therapy, and supervised use of opposites for the entrenched traits. Al-Mudil, you can do a wazifa, al-Halim, forbearing. And then when you have arrogance, excessive courage, obsessed control, poison practices, feign cowardice or silence. And if you have excessive courage, withdrawal from confrontation. Obsessive control, surrender to uncertainty. And then supervision, spiritual mentor or peer group, journaling, reflection, zikir of divine will, al-murid, and then seek in this quotations, the veil of courage may hide the face of arrogance. Certainty is born from surrender. And then jiraha, radical spiritual intervention, is, of course, this is the one, surgery. You're looking for radical. When all else fails, initiate deep transformation through spiritual annihilation and divine remembrance. فَإِذَا عَزَمَتْ فَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ الْمُتَوَكِّلِينَ. When you have decided upon a course of action, place thy trust in God, for verily God loves those who place their trust in Him. So once you have made the decision, stick to that decision, that you want to get rid of this, never touch the alcohol, and keep reading this verse and do this wazifa, al-Kahar, al-Mutakabbir, and of course nafs al-Ammara, ego annihilation, intensive retreat. You can go for retreat, 40-day retreat, Quranic recitation, decide to do a Khatm Quran, and then of course you keep watching Muraqabah. The real is the surgeon, you are the wound. That is Ibn Arabi example. So chronic despair, divine love immersion, Rumi's poetry, zikr, and identity confusion, Tawhid immersion, study of divine names, guided meditation, Ghazal, Ghazali, know thyself to know thy Lord. So if you have identity confusion, yeah, basically you need to understand that you are, of course, use your mind and akal to study divine names, how it manifests through you. So yeah, basically that's the summary what we have gone through today. But next session we will go through more of the other slide, which I have shared actually some of the video of Lale Bakhtiar. So how, and she suggested various options, how to heal, how we feel, and when you have this temperance issue, then how it will be from 5 minus 2. You have to go to this 369, the 6-star, and when you have overdeveloped temperance, greed, what action you take. So we will go through these slides in our next session and show you how this is implemented, and then we'll give you some example from Rumi's Masnavi, which is also given by Lale Bhakhtiya, she compiled it. So we will discuss those aspects of it, and then we will do some case study. So yeah, that's all for today. Any question?
Thank you so much for the presentation. I just have one question because I don't know if I understand very good the stages. He had 4 stages, so 4 technique, and the first one is diet, so it's like the preventive one, and the last one, or the stage number 4, is the radical technique. So it's the last where we need external help. So is it correct when we said that in the 4th stage, where there is a surgical approach needed, that there is the virtues that are the hardest to cultivate?
Yes, surgery is the one when if you think that if you can't get rid of easily, you have tried, of course, diet is not the one, which is diet is very light one. But if you have taken medication, which is basically to be aware and then counter the habit. But if you have tried poison, which is of course, if you have a courage issue, then you become a cowardice. But surgery is basically to cut off. Basically, to cut off means you do it in such a way so that you do not go into that kind of, for example, the alcohol, right? So the way they do alcohol is slowly they reduce, right? And then they of course do not, same with drug. Slowly they reduce, and then at one stage they stop, right? So yeah, that is basically you're cutting off, but little bit at a time, cutting off little bit at a time. Yeah.
And yeah, and for
So
Chuzi, I didn't read his book. Is the output, or the final goal, is to be perfect or to have the perfect virtue?
yes. The main goal is to you work on all these negative trait, and then slowly you replace them with all positive trait, so that all divine name need to manifest through you. So at least if you say, for example, what he's saying, that if you are becoming greedy, let's do some charity. And if you are getting angry, do forgiveness more. Those sort of things. Is suggesting some measures. Um, but surgery is like, as I mentioned about the drug addiction. Slowly you cut off, and then at one stage you get rid of the whole habit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
Thank you.
Any other question? Sharif, Hasainer, Arya,
Yeah. Hi. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum Salam.
Hi, Ji, I was thinking, um, like when you say words like, negative actions or positive actions, and how these basically make, how we constantly refine ourselves into, bettering each other, and like sister just asked, like becoming a perfect, virtuous human being, or a more,
Yeah.
akbar, yeah. So and uh, I was reminded of this whole Rasul's, the story of angels came and heart when he was a boy, and this constant purification is required, but at the same time we are also small, you know, uh, dust, or we are so small. So, I mean, uh, do we really have to worry about our nafs? Maybe that's what I'm asking. Yeah.
Yes, of course, because as I said, if you don't do anything, just like in a garden, weed will develop. And if we develop, then your fruit tree or your other vegetables, they cannot grow. So they cannot give the fruit you are looking for. Same way, if you are not looking after your heart, looking after your own awareness, then you will find that you will become lazy, you are becoming greedy, you are becoming angry, you're becoming envious, you're becoming all sorts of negative things will be developing in you, and you will be fearful, you will be hypocrite, all kind of things you will be doing. As a result, you will be completely going far away from the divine proximity. So of course,
Yes,
you will not
I
be.
understand that. But
Yeah,
then, sir, I understand that. But then, when we look at things like that, what exactly is happening? I mean, we don't have to worry about that. No, we just have to chant. I mean, we just have to remember Allah, right? I mean,
yeah, remember Allah, of course, but
yeah.
doing muhasaba, self-reflection, is very important part of whether you are on track. If you're not watching yourself, if you're not watching your tongue, how many times you have lied throughout the day in your sales business to get the customer.
But how conscious can we be actually? How much conscious can we be about our own actions and our own, I mean, of course, we can do it in our human own simple capacity,
Yes,
but
within
then,
your limit, of course. You are not you cannot become an angel. Yes, you need to understand
mm,
that the two are is human. You will do mistakes, and you have to forgive yourself for that. You cannot be too hard on you as well, right? You cannot say, even Prophet himself said, because some of the Sahaba were praying all night. No, not that what we are saying. We are saying to live normal life, but do a clean life, do some efforts, the mujahada, so that all these things, which is uh, purify our heart, yeah, our awareness need to increase. The more you do zikir, the more you will do, meditation, which is a kind of silence zikir, and then go to the inner dimension, going to the barzakh and going to the dream world, so that you will be able to connect your heart towards Allah's presence. Feeling His presence all the time is what our objective, right? God consciousness is what we are trying to do, trying to be. That to develop that consciousness is the what we are asking Mani to do.
yes.
Is basically we are trying to be, mainly as um, we are seeking divine proximity. We are seeking divine love. As I mentioned that verse, which was saying that if you um, control your anger and forgive others, Allah loves that kind of act. Yeah.
Yeah, yes, yes, Ustad.
So he's saying that wal kazimin al guys wal afina anin nas. Those who restrain their anger and pardon people, wallahu
Mm,
yuhibbul muhsinin. God loves the doers of good. So those two actions he mentioned And are we doing that? That's what we need to ask.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm. Yes, thank you so
those
thank you
kind
so
of
much.
things. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, our main target was to have 1 hour, few minutes, and so if no more questions, we can conclude our session, because I
So
shifted the time from it was originally at 11 GMT, but one of the sisters said she wanted she can come if it is 12 GMT. But of course, she couldn't come anyway. So that's why I shifted it. Here it's now 11:15 in the night. So it was 9 p.m. for me, but to accommodate her request, I moved it to 10 p.m. So as a result, I reduced the duration from 90 minutes to 60 minutes. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. Please include us in your prayers as well, so that we really become, virtuous people.
Sure. Thank you. You pray for me too, because we all need each other's prayer. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Assalamu
Thank you.
alaikum. Thank you.
Bibi, can we do one session on dhikr,
Yeah, we can do
meditation?
is yes.
Yes, I'd prefer if we do that. Your sessions are wonderful. You just need
No
to repeat
worries.
hearing it. There's a lot of advice that we need to work on ourselves. I
Yes,
talk
yes.
about
Actually, our lecture series will finish our next session when we finish our going through this theoretical aspects of Enneagram. But later we will move into discussion. Those sessions will not be recorded, so we can do various kind of practices. Just like we have that other group. We will join that group more, because that is the Salikin group, the one mm, the one which is mainly for zikir and salawat.
Yeah.
Yeah, Salikin
But that's
circle.
not, it's not as active. Yours is on a weekly basis. That one is not.
Oh, okay. No, but we are going to go into monthly as opposed to fortnightly. Mine is fortnightly because we have been covering quite a lot of subject. That's why. Yeah. But now that we got the theory, we will go into practice mode.
All right. Thank you.
Practice mode. So yes, zikir will be one of the things we needed, as I mentioned, in one of the approach. Even the recommendation here is to do zikir, and these 99 names. There is a dictionary at the at this volume 2, and dictionary has what negative trait you needed to do, what name, zikir of what name, and it has an absurd based, and also even hot versus cold. Um, uh, if you understand that sort of dimensions, even it's talking about colors. What when you say dream, because dream give you a message, and in that dream, what sort of colors you have seen, you are wearing, or the people around you are wearing in their clothing. So there are a lot of information you will receive from divine guidance through your dreams. And also depending on your feeling throughout the day, as I mentioned, happiness versus sadness, and also various signs. I'll discuss those things as we go along. Yeah.
Thank you. God bless you, CD. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.